The first shock hits before the plane even fully stops moving. The American tourist is still strapped into the seat, eyes heavy from the overnight flight, when the voice over the intercom calmly thanks everyone for flying and welcomes them to the United Kingdom. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, please subscribe, like my video, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next update. There's no dramatic fanfare, no over-the-top enthusiasm, just a dry, polite delivery that somehow feels serious and understated at the same time. That tone alone feels unfamiliar. Back home, arrivals usually come with excitement, energy, and a sense of spectacle. Here, it feels more like being quietly invited into someone else's house. As the doors open and the cool London air creeps into the cabin, the second shock follows quickly. Everyone stands up, but no one rushes. No elbows, no loud sighs, no desperate grabbing for overhead bags. People wait. They actually wait. The American tourist pauses, half expecting chaos that never arrives, and suddenly feels like the loud one just for shifting weight too quickly. This is the first moment of unease, the first realization that the rules here are different, even if no one has explained them out loud. Passport control feels like stepping into a different rhythm of time. The officer barely smiles, barely frowns, asks a few short questions, stamps the passport, and that's it. No small talk. No enjoy your stay. Just a nod that feels like permission granted and judgment passed at the same time. The American tourist walks away, unsure whether they were welcomed or merely tolerated. Outside the airport, the world looks familiar but somehow tilted. Cars are driving on the opposite side of the road, which seems obvious in theory but deeply unsettling in reality. The American tourist hesitates at the curb, instinctively looking the wrong way, heart jumping at the sudden whoosh of traffic from an unexpected direction. Even crossing the street feels like a test. Painted on the pavement are polite reminders telling pedestrians which way to look, as if the country itself knows this moment trips people up. The first taxi ride becomes another quiet lesson. The driver is friendly, but not chatty, helpful but not overly warm. Questions are answered, but not expanded on. Jokes are made, but so dry they almost sound serious. The American tourist laughs a second too late, unsure whether a joke even happened. By the time they reach the hotel, there's a strange feeling of being slightly off balance, like walking on a moving sidewalk that won't quite match your pace. The next morning, jet-lagged and eager, the American tourist steps out onto the streets of London ready to explore. The buildings immediately feel heavier with history. Nothing seems temporary. Nothing looks like it was built to be replaced in 20 years. Churches older than the United States stand casually next to modern offices, as if centuries passing is no big deal. It's impressive and unsettling at the same time. Back home, age is something preserved behind glass. Here, people walk past it on their way to work. Then comes the walking. Everyone walks, everywhere. The American tourist, who rented a car back home just to drive to the grocery store, suddenly finds themselves navigating miles of pavement without complaint from anyone else. People stride forward with purpose, heads down, moving like they have somewhere important to be, even if they're just going for lunch. There's no stopping randomly, no blocking sidewalks to check phones, no loud conversations drifting across the street. When the American tourist hesitates, trying to figure out directions, they feel immediately in the way. Public transport is another awakening. The underground is fast, efficient, and brutally honest. Signs don't comfort you. They instruct you. Stand on the right, walk on the left. Mind the gap. Everyone seems to know exactly where to go. No one asks for help unless absolutely necessary. When the American tourist finally does ask a stranger for directions, the response is polite, detailed, and delivered without unnecessary emotion. Like giving instructions is a civic duty rather than a chance for conversation. Hunger sets in by late morning, and with it comes one of the biggest culture shocks of the trip. Breakfast. The American tourist walks into a small cafe expecting something light and familiar, maybe eggs and toast. What arrives is a plate that looks like it could feed an entire family. Eggs, sausages, bacon, beans, mushrooms, tomatoes, black pudding. Beans, for breakfast. The American tourist stares at the plate, unsure where to begin, wondering if this is a prank. The first bite is surprisingly good, but the confusion lingers. This is comfort food, but in a way that feels entirely foreign. Ordering itself feels different. No server checking in every 5 minutes. No cheerful introductions or name exchanges. The food arrives, it's good, and you're left alone to enjoy it. At first, the American tourist wonders if they've done something wrong. Then they realize, this is normal. Attentive here means not interrupting. Helpful means letting people eat in peace. The tipping moment arrives next, and it hits hard. When the bill comes, there's no obvious place to add extra. No suggested percentages, no pressure. The American tourist hesitates, heart racing, suddenly worried about offending someone. They ask if tipping is expected. The response is almost dismissive. It's fine either way. That answer alone feels shocking. Back home, tipping is a moral obligation wrapped in social anxiety. Here, it feels optional, almost awkward. The American tourist leaves a small tip anyway, walking out unsure whether it was appreciated or unnecessary. The pub experience later that day flips even more expectations upside down. There's no host, no waiting to be seated. People stand at the bar, order drinks themselves, carry them back to their tables. The American tourist waits politely near the door until someone finally asks what they want. Ordering feels like stepping into a fast-moving stream. You have to know what you want before you get there. There's no time for indecision. When the bartender finally acknowledges them, it's with a look that says, yes, not, how can I help you? The difference is subtle but powerful. British humor arrives unexpectedly and without warning. Sarcasm is delivered so straight-faced it feels like criticism until laughter follows. Self-deprecation is everywhere. People make jokes at their own expense, their country's expense, even the weather's expense. The American tourist laughs, but often a beat late, replaying the sentence in their head to make sure it was, in fact, a joke. Compliments are rare and understated. Praise comes disguised as mild approval. Not bad, turns out to be high praise. Politeness shows itself in ways the American tourist didn't expect. People apologize constantly, even when they're not at fault. Someone bumps into them and says sorry. Someone else steps aside and says sorry. The American tourist starts apologizing too, unsure why, but feeling like it's the right thing to do. At the same time, directness is avoided. Criticism is softened, wrapped in phrases that sound friendly but carry meaning underneath. You might want to actually means you should. Interesting doesn't always mean interesting. By the third day, the culture shock deepens into something more reflective. The American tourist notices how quietly people exist in public spaces. Phones are used, but not loudly. Conversations happen, but not broadcast. There's a sense of shared space, an unspoken agreement to not impose on others. It feels respectful, but also distant. The American tourist misses the easy friendliness of strangers back home, the random conversations in line, the casual oversharing. Here, privacy is valued more than connection with people you don't know. History continues to loom everywhere. Castles appear in places where strip malls would be back home. Old pubs have names older than entire American cities. Tour guides casually mention events from the 1600s like they happened yesterday. The American tourist feels small in a way they didn't expect. Not insignificant, but young. Like a teenager visiting an elderly relative who has lived many lives and doesn't feel the need to talk about all of them. Food surprises keep coming. Portions are smaller but richer. Desserts are heavier. Drinks are warmer. Ice is scarce. Asking for water brings a glass that's perfectly reasonable by local standards and comically small by American ones. Free refills don't exist. The American tourist learns to sip slowly, to appreciate rather than consume. One evening, rain starts falling without warning, and no one reacts. No running, no complaining, no dramatic gestures. Umbrellas appear like magic and life continues. The American tourist, soaked and laughing, realizes how much energy back home goes into fighting inconvenience rather than accepting it. The weather here isn't an event, it's just part of the day. By the end of the trip, something shifts. The culture shock no longer feels sharp, it feels educational. The American tourist starts adopting small habits without noticing, standing on the right, saying sorry automatically, lowering their voice in public, enjoying the space between interactions. The differences that once felt uncomfortable now feel intentional. On the last day, sitting alone in a quiet cafe, the American tourist watches the city move. There's no urge to rush. No need to fill the silence. For the first time, the shock isn't about what's missing or different. It's about what's been learned. The realization hits softly but clearly. The UK didn't just feel foreign because of accents or customs. It felt foreign because it values things different.